Okay, I'm going to cover how to use Tableau Public to share your work. That's our main topic today. I also want to go over doing some comparative data. I'm going to be working from this map animation we made of COVID-19 infections a few days ago. Let's see, the other thing I want to talk about is incorporating some other data, comparative data, if you will. So my examples are going to focus on COVID-19, but obviously you don't necessarily have to. So the first thing I wanted to do is unrelated to Tableau Public, and it is changing the background of your map, really styling your map. And we've already seen how we can go to map and map layers and play around with things. What I want to talk about is actually using an external service to style this. Specifically, I'm talking about map view. We go to map and background maps. Oops. If you switch this to none or offline, you'll lose a lot of the stuff built into Tableau. So it's set to Tableau automatically. Go to map services. So this would be external or third-party services. And we can add, and our only options are WMS servers or MapBox maps. So I'm going to choose MapBox maps. It's the most accessible. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm trying to style this map more like I would style a map in, well, really in Google Maps, but think of it more like in Photoshop or something. So MapBox is, as I mentioned, a third-party map service. In order to do this in Tableau, you actually have to go to mapbox.com and create a login. You can see an account. I've already got one. They will also then send you an email, which you have to confirm your account with. For whatever reason, my email took a very long time to get, like half an hour or something. So keep that in mind. Anyways, I'm going to click on Start Mapping for free. I'll walk you through this whole thing. It does not take long. Start by designing a map. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to click New Style. And you start out with a template, and you can go from there. And it encourages you to start totally from scratch, the basic map. I'm going to be difficult and just choose something with a little bit more content because it will just give me more opportunities to show you content that's already there and how you can manipulate it rather than starting from scratch, which, as they recommend, is probably the best idea or starting point. So you can see this map outdoors it's filled with information. And I find that working from MapBox, I get more information than I want. I want to peel some away. So again, I'm going to try to show you how to play around with that. So let's start with, I'm going to click on land and water. That is a major feature in what we're looking at here. So you can see there's land use and cover, and you can just toggle these things, right? So you can see land use and cover. I'm going to do too much. Land use, I'll turn back on. The style is set to outdoors as opposed to standard. That doesn't make much of a difference. Actually, this one isn't very interesting. So let me go to natural features. Maybe that's more along the lines of what we're interested in playing around with. It has label style, text, and icon. I'm going to change that to icon only, and we'll see a few of those labels go away if we want to do that. There are some more options. We could eject this entire component, and it's not going to make a huge difference here, but just showing you what that is. So we're adjusting components here, not layers. Obviously, this can get really granular. I'm going to go to terrain here and turn off hill shade, contours, cliffs. Now it's a much flatter map. We can adjust our colors however we want. So I just made the map a little lighter. Let's see their point of interest labels, which of course I could condense or remove or what have you. Now we're really zoomed in here, right? And we're in this really kind of like middle of nowhere spot here. No offense to the town of Zion Lodge, but I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Like what would happen if we go someplace a little bit more crowded? What would this map look like there? Well, let's see, there's Cedar City, right on I-15. And we go in there and you can see you're going to get labels for the airport and the streets, so this is a pretty good map setting. Okay, so let's say this is what I wanted for the map I'm making in Tableau. Now, I'm just doing this as a kind of a random example, and really what you would do is, if your project was based around transit, you would probably want to strip away a lot of this content and really focus on transit. If you were doing a project based on like biking paths, you would focus on walking, cycling, etc. And what I mean by focus on is you would probably strip away, minimize, or dampen the opacity of or something like that. All the features except what you're focusing on, or the two things you're focusing on if you're doing comparative analysis. I should also point out this is not at all required. The appearance of of Tableau Maps is perfectly fine. This is kind of like styling an HTML page, like changing the font or something, because all Tableau maps look the same by default. So if you change it, people are like, oh wow, this looks different. Okay, so how do we get this relatively straightforward style here out of map view and into Tableau? I'm going to click this share button. And when you click share in MapBox, by default, it's going to think that you just want to have this be a private style. So we have to change it to be a public style in order to use it. So I'm going to click Make Public here. I'll click Make Public again. So if we go back over here to what Tableau is looking for, it's looking for a style name. I'll call mine Outdoors Variant. I'll call it MapBox Outdoors Variant because I did it in MapBox. I started with the Outdoors template and I made a variant of it. So if you read this little paragraph or a sentence, it says you can either paste in this URL or you can type in all this stuff. I don't remember all this stuff here, so let me show you how we can do that. So you can see share style, preview only, allow copying. This one doesn't work. This is for allowing someone to copy their style to their account, their MapBox account. So what do we want to use? Well, we are developers, and we want to use this style URL down here. You can see this is broken down by individual platforms. I found that the web one works fine, and I believe all that we need is this style URL. So I'm going to click this copy button, go over here, paste that in, and if everything works, it should populate my other content automatically. The MapBox style URL entered is not in a valid format. All right. Let me get rid of that then. Let's try it again. Let's see, is it still didn't like that one? Well, I thought that would do it. I'm going to copy this one. No, I know that's not going to work. Why would I do that? Let's anyone do blah, blah, blah. Style URL. That's it. MapBox styles. Chugga, chugga, chugga. Maybe third party. WNTS. Oh, gosh, that's not what we want. There's Tableau. Ooh. Oh, we are in. Oh, it even tells us how to do it. So let me hit copy again. Now you've seen all the possible options. All right. Well, that's what's supposed to happen. So I typed in the URL, or rather I copy and pasted it. When I click in this access token and username and all that stuff, it filled all that stuff out for me automatically. So that was a little bit more of a wrestling match than I expected. Again, I thought I worked with this web tab last time I did it, but third party, and then I did a drop down to Tableau. Well, that's just going to give us much better results. So why not, right? Okay, so I'll hit OK and close, and you'll immediately see that style affect our map. And now when we publish, it should publish with that MapBox info. And you can see down here, it's going to change our, what do you call it, copyright information. Let's say it is MapBox. So that's kind of cool. Okay, let me go over how to share this map in a way that we haven't gone over yet. What we have done so far is go to the server option, and once we are signed into Tableau Public, we could go here and publish our workbook. So some of you have already worked with that and done it, and it's great. It's really cool. Remember, what Tableau Public can do is publish both your, in this case, map or visualization, more broadly speaking. It will also publish your data source in its entirety. And those two things are dependent on each other in order to show your map. So this is why we cannot just export this as some sort of interactive visualization removed from its data. It doesn't work that way. Anyways, the last option here is Tableau Public, and I think a lot of you are going to find Tableau Public is probably going to be the best option for sharing your map because it makes it very easy to embed a map that you've made in Tableau into an HTML report. So in order to use Tableau Public, you have to create an account on Tableau Public, and that is separate from your account on Tableau Online, and it's separate from your account on Tableau Desktop, although they will potentially all be linked up. So let's see, Tableau Public. All right. So here is me and my profile. And you can see I've used 2 megabytes of 10 gigabytes. So that gives me a sense that unless you're working with huge data, you should be able to get Tableau Public to work just fine. Now for y'all, you'll have to go to Tableau Public and create a username and password. There is one interesting thing I think you need to know for the username and password. So this is important. I don't really know how to point this out. I'll just do it out of Google Docs and write it really big in case you're like not listening, but just looking at the screen. That would be weird. But anyways, for Tableau Public, your password must be, I think, at least 8 characters. It has to include alpha, numeric, and special characters. So that was a surprise to me. I don't have any kind of go-to passwords that have special characters in them. So I had to make a new, long, complicated password for Tableau Public. And so if this is taking you outside of your password wheelhouse, I would definitely write this down somewhere so you don't lose it. And these are different password requirements for the other versions of Tableau that we were playing with. So I was trying to emphasize this. Here, I'll make it bold and large. But hopefully you get what I'm saying here for Tableau Public. Okay. Once you have gone to Tableau Public and you have created an account, we'll be able to do some interesting stuff. So you can see here's something I've already uploaded. Let me go over the process of uploading in Tableau Public because that will be a little bit more helpful. And then we can actually do something with it, right? Okay. So I'm going to go to Server in Tableau Public. And it says Open from Tableau Public. So that's if I had something already created on Tableau Public and I wanted to open it in Desktop. Well, what I want to do is save to Tableau Public. All right, I'm going to save this map to Tableau Public. That's our aim here. So I'm going to get a little spinning pinwheel. So the first thing it does is upload your data, which is really cool. If memory serves, I was reading about this recently. The way Tableau Public works is it kind of condenses your data. It's not your original data. And in that case, that should be fine. It won't compromise your data. It's probably going to change it into a format that only is usable by Tableau Public, but that's fine. Remember, we have 10 gigabytes of space, so if it's crunching or compressing our data to be more efficient, it will load faster, and we'll be able to make more projects on Tableau Public. All right, so publish complete. You can see edit details, and we can go down here. And, we can give it a better title, certainly, and better description. A lot of this other stuff I'm not too worried about. Really isn't that much useful stuff down here. So let me just, I'll hit cancel and come back up. Okay, oh, now I'm just adjusting my map. So let me close this little window here. And you'll see a few options up here at the top. Favorite, edit, and download. Now these are options in case I'm looking at my map that I have just uploaded, right? In other words, I am logged in to Tableau Public and I can edit this on Tableau Public. To give you some proof, I have a different, oops, that's the wrong thing. I had a different browser open. This is Firefox. I'm going to copy this URL and paste it into Firefox. And the reason I'm doing this is I am not signed in on Firefox to Tableau Public, right? So this is the same as if I was some random person. You can see it says sign in or sign up. So it doesn't know who I am. Oh, it says Brian Walsh profile. No, that doesn't know who I am. That's just looking at my folder here. Okay, and you can see the map still loads. So what I'm trying to prove again is that this is publicly available. Let me minimize that. Okay, so what if we want to put this into our report? By the way, there's a download option here. Oh, download. But that's just going to get us into the same boat we were in before. This is download .twb file or maybe .twbx. In other words, we can only open it with Tableau. So I'm going to come down here to this share button. And if we click share, I just want to remind everyone, we are doing this in Tableau Public, not in Tableau Online. You would see a very different result here. So it says current view as opposed to original view. In other words, I've been adjusting this map, changing its appearance. So these are different things. You might want to keep that in mind. And it gives us 2 little snippets, an embed code and a link code. So generally speaking, when we create work, we are using HTML or CSS to share it, or we're using R Markdown because we spend a lot of time in R. The way this would work is we would want to use this embed code with a div in our HTML, and we would want to use this link in an R Markdown. Let me give you a quick example of each. I have copied this embed code here, and I'm going to go to brackets. I have no idea what's going to open in brackets, whatever I had open last. It looks like our boilerplate, so that's not so bad. So just anywhere in the HTML where I want this map to show up, I'm going to create a bunch of room because I want it to be clear what I'm doing, and I'm going to paste. And it pastes this just a huge bunch of code here. And it's all crammed together. So if you highlight this first thing, you'll see there's a div. And I'm going to hit enter after that to spread it out. So here's our div or division on the page. You can see it's got a little content for no script, that is if someone does not have JavaScript running. Then it's using an object and a parameter. These are all really old techniques for embedding content onto a page. What I mean by that is, I'm not trying to disrespect Tableau. It means it's going to be compatible with like Internet Explorer 6.5. Like you can go back pretty far. That is for no script, and this is for script. There's a lot of repetition in embed codes to make sure your content shows up on different devices. This is the one that's going to be the most useful to us for sure. So this is JavaScript. It's written, you don't have to understand the JavaScript, we're just pasting it in. I'm going to save this file and hit preview. And if we are lucky, we will see our content in here. Yeah, so there it is, and then you'll see, I'm zooming on the map, and down here is all this other content, which it was already in this report, just to be clear. All right, so that was in brackets. How are we going to get this into our Markdown if we were making a project in our Markdown? Well, I played around a lot trying to get R to be friendly with embedding Tableau map. And I found a lot of examples, but I couldn't get anything to work. So my advice is if you're using R Markdown, you will not be able to embed, you'll have to link. And if you've used R Markdown already, you're probably familiar with how to do this. Let me create a quick R Markdown document, and I would just say, I believe a link, we would create a bracket and say, here's a link to my map, something like that, and then in parentheses, we would plug in that link. So let me save that. I'll call it test. I'll call it test 3 because I have like 100 things called test. Let's knit and hope we don't run into an error, and hopefully our map shows up. Here's a link to my map, and when I click that, oh, you know what, I'm going to open this in a browser because it will be a little bit more realistic. When I click that, it is going to open up. Now you'll notice when I did that, it actually went from my report in the browser, it replaced that with my map, which means you'd be sending someone away from your content. So what we want to do is change this map to have a target that opens in a new window. Let me go ahead and close our Markdown. I am not super concerned about that right now. So one last thing I wanted to cover before moving on is it is best to do a comparative analysis of anything we're going to do. There are all kinds of types of data that we have access to. We've seen a lot of them already in Tableau just by going to map and map layers. When I go to data layer here, we can play around with lots of fun stuff, right? One thing that I want to make clear is that this data is almost all census based, and it's all as up to date as it can be. What I mean by that is the last census was in 2010, so it's as out of date as it can be for right now. But types of data we can get are income, it's usually median household income, population, age, race and ethnicity, the average housing cost in an area. There's also often a lot of crime data and things like that, but that would be specific to a data portal. The stuff I named before that is stuff that's just kind of built into Tableau already, so it makes it really easy to access. So what I wanted to show you is how do we access some data that's not built into Tableau that we wanted to, or into R or anything like that we wanted to include. So I've got a few examples. Let me start with a project idea. Let's say we were doing something, just keeping with what we were doing before, on coronavirus outbreaks. So if we wanted to analyze, for example, the politicalization, I guess, of how people have reacted to this virus over time. So you may have heard that Google released COVID-19 community mobility reports. These are pretty interesting. I'll come back to this in a minute. All voting data is made public, and it's made public very quickly. That is much faster than census data, which is every 10 years. I can't say in particular how fast it is. It depends on the municipality you live in. And then we got Google Trends. So what I'm going to play around with is how can we work with all of this data and say something with it. So what I'm really getting at here is how can we do a county by county comparison based on politics. So here's the North Carolina State Board of Elections. And these show election results and voter registration data. So this voter registration data is quite up to date. In fact, here is current, right? Current voter registration and voting data. I have already downloaded this zip for 2 counties. I downloaded it for Alamance County, and I downloaded it for Orange County, which is where Chapel Hill is. So let's see, library tidyverse, first of all. And let me go ahead and import this thing. So these things, these files download as .txt files, which might sound unfriendly, but it should work fine. The function we would use for that is read.table. I'm going to put in parentheses, quotes, a tilde, because it's in my downloads folder. And I actually know that I'm pretty sure it's nc voter1.txt is the file I downloaded for Alamance County. So I'm going to say Alamance, which will be my variable, is equal to this read table. Let's see if that works. Oh, okay, that worked. While we're at it, I also grabbed data for Orange County from that same place, Orange. And if memory serves, again, it is NC Voter 68, just going alphabetically. So now I have the voting information for Alamance and Orange. What can we do with these? Well, there are easier ways to look at the data, but if I type a $, you'll see all these columns are just V1, 2, 3. They've been automatically named by R because I didn't see a header for them. So this is a pretty common error. What I need to do is explicitly say header equals true for both of these. It's comma separated. Header equals true. Let me run both of these again. And so now when I type Alamance $, that is to show me, the individual columns, we'll actually see some useful stuff. This is thorough, to say the least. It's also got names in it, if you were curious. Lots of stuff there. So there's a race code, an ethnicity code, party CD, that's the affiliation you have with a particular party. Gender, birth age. Okay, so let's look at some of these. How about party CD? So if I just run that, you'll see all these results. Okay, what can we do with that? Well, I could say Alamance and let's say count. What was this called? Party CD. So that would be party_CD. CD. Sort equals true. So when I run that, you'll see down here are our numbers. Of course, I could visualize that. I could say and ggplot, AES. Let's see, party_CD n and geom call. That would be a very basic one. If we wanted to tweak that, we would say reorder party C via n, comma n. That's probably going to be -n and coord flip. Oops, not coord clip. That's a new function that has never been invented. I think I'm forgetting a parentheses. There we go. Oh, I actually got the negative wrong. There you go. Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated, Libertarian. Barely getting any registration for these last 2 parties. Let's do the same thing with Orange County. So I'm going to copy Alamance and just change this to Orange. And we get slightly different results. If I just run this as text, we can see we've got in Orange County, a huge amount of Democrats followed by unaffiliated, huge drop off when we get to Republicans. And if we were to look at Alamance, you're going to get a much closer split between Democrat and Republican and unaffiliated. So what does that tell us? That, again, it's just the most up-to-date voter registration in these areas. Let me show you something else I've found that's interesting in this data. If we say orange and count, and what I want to count is age. I don't know if it's called age. It doesn't look like it. So how can we find what it's called? Well, again, I'm going to say orange $, and scroll through until we find the thing that we want. Let's see. Birth _ age. Birth _ age, comma, sort equals true. So look at our results. The most common ages in Orange County are 23, 24, 22, 25, 26, 27. I'm sensing a trend here. Let's do the same thing with Alamance. 56, 49, 58, 57, 60. So what can we say about the median age? What can we say about the age brackets and how they relate to politics or mobility, things like that? Well, this is all qualitative, but we can still say some interesting things, I think. So let's see. So here's those community mobility reports that I mentioned via Google. If I type in, if I spell right, United States, here we are, and then we have a breakdown on states. So we can go down to North Carolina, and we can download this PDF, and if we do that, it's going to open up this. So here's a breakdown on the mobility changes. By the way, about this data will explain their methodology pretty clearly. It's quite interesting. You can see overall in North Carolina, as a kind of baseline, there's a lot of a reduction in retail and recreation, a slight reduction in grocery and pharmacy, and an increase in people going to parks. So here's where things get interesting. There's some more stats, but I'm going to move. There's Alamance County. So let's just take one of these as an example, or maybe two, the first and last. Retail and recreation, -39, residential, +9. So if we scroll down, was it 39 and +9? There are 100 counties in North Carolina. And I guess Orange is the 68th alphabetically. Orange County. Instead of 39, it's 56. And our residential, instead of +9, it's +14. So there's significantly more adherence to stay-at-home orders in Orange County than there is in Alamance County. There might be a correlation between age. There might be a correlation between political affiliation there. Can't say anything with certainty, of course. So one other fun thing that we can do is, this is on Google Trends. I did a search, I've done this every day for a while, on coronavirus, and then let's see, last 90 days we'd always adjust that, but I chose North Carolina here, a similar breakdown system. You can see here's the trend increase over time. Past 90 days is a bit deceptive. So let's do maybe past 30 days. It's a little better. It seems to be ebbing, because we know what we need to know. So here's interest by metro, which gets pretty interesting. Let me be clear about this. It's all, whoever's first, whoever's searching this term first is going to get a 100. Also, if you look at the methodology that they describe when you click on these question marks, they'll say that, you know, if you get a lot of hits on something in a smaller metro area, it's going to show with a higher number than if you were in a bigger metro area and something had the same amount of interest. So in other words, it's kind of controlling for population. You can download this data, but it really just looks exactly like this. There's not much to it, I guess you could say. So the most useful thing I found is these look like cities, right? Charlotte, Wilmington, or Raleigh. But these are actually regions, and you can tell when you hover over the map. So Charlotte covers this whole area, right? This is Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point. I'm going to click here. Now again, this is not exact, but then we can get into it, interest by city, and you can see if we hover over, for instance, there's Burlington, search interest 73, Graham, search interest 78. How would that compare to a search interest in Orange County? Well, we could go back and check that out. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, I'm trying to pull data from Google Trends, from voting information, and from Google mobility reports in relation to the virus, and combine all of that, in a sense, with the map that we made with COVID-19 outbreaks. So again, what I'm trying to illustrate is how we could combine all of those ideas into one big crazy project. Now, how would we put all that together? Well, we could put it together in R Markdown if we did the majority of our work in R Markdown and just included a link to our map from here. And those of you that are comfortable with HTML and CSS, this would probably be even easier. You could include your R code and your R visualizations and then use these embed codes to get your content from Tableau into HTML and CSS. Okay, let's see, I just want to make sure I talked about everything. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about right now. Sorry, this is like the longest video in the history of the world. I thought about breaking it up, but I didn't.